Well, paying bills is a regular part of everyday life, and many East Texans are finding ways to cut down as prices rise. Sewer rates are determined by winter water usage, but what happens when your pipes burst and you lose thousands of gallons of water? East Texas News Weekend's Bob Hallmark looked into it, and here's what he found.
Over the winter months, the City of Longview reminds citizens that they can reduce their sewer rate with an annual slogan.
Winter water-wise, that is the phrase that we use to talk about the months of November, December, and January, which we're about to come out of. And those are the 3 months that we use to determine the sewer rate for the rest of the year.
Important because the monitoring is during the winter months when there's less usage.
Sewer lines are unmetered, which means we don't actually know how much is coming out of the house. We judge the amount of water roughly going into the sewer system based on November, December, and January, because people aren't watering their yards and using a bunch of water. People aren't filling up their pools.
But extreme winter weather has happened before, such as hard freezes, busted pipes, and thousands of gallons of water lost. And that shows up on your meter.
And it's the leaks you don't know about that could cost you massive amounts of water. So you should check your pipes after every hard freeze.
Sometimes we get the question of, man, I had a pipe burst. I had a crazy event happen that, water was spilling out for a while. I couldn't control it, right? Am I going to get hosed, pardon the pun, for that sort of thing happening?
And if you don't inform the city, you will. To avoid a higher rate, documentation must be made.
If you've had an exigent circumstance, we want to talk to you. We're not going to put the screws on you because you had an issue if you can prove that you had an issue in your house. So we want to be a city that works with our residents.
Bob Hallmark, East Texas News Weekend.
He says if you've had frozen pipes and lost massive amounts of water because of bursting, let the city know so adjustments can be made to your water rates.